Hello, Three Mics Nation. Welcome back. We're here with episode 16. Great show we have on today. We're going to talk some of the Pacquiao-Mayweather boxing affair we have going this weekend. We also got NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs to talk about, MLB season's heating up.
And, of course, the NFL draft starting on Thursday. Don't know how you forgot about that one, buddy.
Yeah, not sure how I did either. Great show today. We got a friend of the show here, Justin Sadler. I'm sure if you're from Dauphin, Manitoba, you've heard of him. Just kidding. Nobody's from Dauphin, Manitoba. So, Justin, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey guys. It's great to be on the show. Thanks for inviting me. I'm glad to be the fourth mic today.
Yeah, loyal listener over here. So let's get right into it with the NBA playoffs. Obviously, here in the 6, as Raptors Nation seems to have dubbed the city. We're a little disappointed with the Raptors getting swept first round by the Wizards. Not even a close game. In Game 4. Aiden, what did you think of that series?
Yeah, going into the series, I thought that whichever team lost in the opening round was going to have a really difficult offseason. Most of these teams are sort of at a point where they've reached their potential. If you look at the Raptors, I mean, something's got to change. I mean, obviously, last 2 years they've lost in the first round with home court advantage. Some changes need to be made with the organization, and I think that starts with Dwayne Casey. I don't think Dwayne Casey's taking the Raptors anywhere deep in the playoffs. I think they need to find a new coach. And I look at a guy like Scott Brooks, who just got fired from Oklahoma City. Definitely one of the best young coaches in the league, I think. I think he could definitely be a candidate.
Yeah, there's lots of great options if the Raptors do want to get rid of Casey. I don't think they will. I believe they announced that they plan on keeping him for next year. It was really just a problem with the intensity of the Raptors this series, especially on defense. They just did not come to play on defense. They weren't ready to guard guys like Paul Pierce who could knock down shots with hands in the face. They just didn't play with the intensity. We saw it at the end of the regular season and continued into the playoffs.
I thought that the smack talk ended up being the most exciting part of the series as the Raptors ended up getting swept, and pretty disappointing end of the season, but I think that the Raptors can make some moves in the offseason and hopefully come back and compete with teams like the Cavs and people atop the East.
If we had to look for a silver lining in this whole situation, one thing I would say is that the fact that they got swept and got beaten so badly will force them to make changes this offseason, which is what I think the Raptors do ultimately need. Through some parts of the season, I thought that this was the core group of guys that they were going to have a lot of success with. But as the season carried on, it just did not look like anybody was playing with intensity. No hustle was there. The defense just totally fell off near the latter part of the season, and ultimately they get swept in 4 games by. I don't think that Wizards team's that strong.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what you think about the Wizards. I think the issues for the Raptors defensively start right in the paint. They don't really have a true rim protector like a lot of other teams in the East. Also, they don't have a guy who can get out there and guard an athletic guard. We saw John Wall just getting in the lane every time, drawing the double team and dishing it off to Marcin Gortat. I also think you look at a guy like Jonas Valanciunas. A lot of people say he's a guy who's still developing, but at some point you got to look. This is his 3rd year in the league. This might be the maximum of his potential. I think the Raptors got to look around the leagues, look at some of the big men that are available. Personally, I like a guy like Roy Hibbert from Indiana. A lot of talks that he's going to be traded this offseason. I think he provides some rim protection. Not a great athlete, but at the same time, neither was Valanciunas.
Yeah, he's a great defensive presence. And it didn't help for the Raptors that Amir Johnson was dealing with injuries throughout the series. I thought another problem for the Raptors is DeMar DeRozan really had to carry this team, and he sometimes came on and had these hot quarters who put up 20 points, but then he'd disappear for the rest of the game. The problem is when he wasn't playing at his best, the Raptors, his teammates weren't picking him up, and that was a problem for the Raptors.
Yeah, so let's move over to another series here. We have the Clippers-Spurs series tied at 2. I know all of us here love to watch the Spurs play basketball. Clippers, another great team. Aiden, what have you thought of that series so far?
Everyone loves to watch the Spurs play basketball. The way they share the ball, and now with the I don't know if it's emergence, but really for the past whole year now, Kawhi Leonard. Can we please talk about Kawhi Leonard? I was talking on the Power Hour last night. Great show. And one of the questions brought up by my good friend Adam Lamont was, if you're starting an NBA franchise right now, who's your first pick? You can pick anyone. And in my opinion, it was that Kawhi Leonard is second only to Anthony Davis, 2 of the best young players in the league. Kawhi Leonard's really developed his outside shot and it's added a whole new element to his game.
Yeah, the Spurs they've been a great team, especially down the road in the regular season. battled two of the hottest teams. So one of the surprises this series, some of the games haven't been as close as we might have anticipated. The series has been close. They've traded games. Spurs took game 2 and 3, with the Clippers taking games 1 and 4. Not a lot of close games. We see a lot of back and forth action though, and it's been an exciting series.
I think that, as Pat mentioned, it's been a really back and forth series, and I think that's what NBA fans are looking for. I think that the Spurs remind me a lot of the UCC powerhouse of Aiden Power, Liam Power, Seamus Power, and O'Neal Halstead. I think that those 4 guys were just like the core 4 of the UCC basketball history, and I think that the Spurs really compare to that powerhouse that we've here at UCC experienced the past couple of years.
Yeah, just like the Powers, I think the issue with the Spurs is their defense. If you look at a guy like Chris Paul, they don't really have a guard who can defend. Patty Mills is a great scorer. Tony Parker's well past his prime. Neither of those guys can really defend Chris Paul. And that's I hate to keep talking about Kawhi Leonard, but that's one of the reasons I love him is his defense. Defensive Player of the Year this year. At 2 points in the fourth quarter on back-to-back possessions. One possession he was guarding Chris Paul. The next possession he was guarding Blake Griffin. I mean, you talk about someone who can guard all 5 positions. Phenomenal athlete. I think the advantage goes to the Clippers defensively. Spurs are the better offensive team. I think offense wins championships in the NBA.
Speaking of Kawhi Leonard, that was one of O'Neal Halstead's favorite players, so shout out to H2O.
Maybe the current UCC varsity basketball team needs to spend more time watching Kawhi Leonard's defense.
Man, they lost Popovich though. Last year.
Oh, yeah.
We've got you mentioned that great Spurs offense. We've got in the last 3 games they've scored 100+ points in each of them, including 111.
Yeah, they look like they're playing the Raptors out there.
Yeah, the Spurs are definitely one of the best offenses in the league. Brings us to another series. We saw the Golden State Warriors sweep New Orleans. Did you guys see any surprise there?
No, it's no surprise. The Golden State Warriors were the best team in the NBA for the entire season. We might have thought that because they had some young guys with not a lot of playoff experience, they might not come to play in the playoffs, but they definitely showed up. Anthony Davis had a great series, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, the Clippers the Warriors are a really fun team to watch. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, just their ability to stretch the court, knocking down threes and everything. I ultimately think the Western Conference is going to come down to the Warriors, Spurs. Really interesting matchups. If you look at the way those 2 teams play, I like the Spurs winning the West.
Yeah, the other 1 seed from the East, the 1 seed in the East, Atlanta taking on Brooklyn. That series tied at 2. What do you guys think about the Nets? The Nets putting up a run here.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to watch as much of this series as I'd like to, if we're being completely honest. Really surprised that the Nets were able to tie that series up. If you look at who Jason Kidd leaving the Nets this year for Milwaukee, if I had the choice of which team I would want to coach in the NBA, realistically I think the Nets would be the worst team to coach. This is a team that really doesn't have any draft picks for the next couple of years. It's now or never for this team, and I think it's never.
And hasn't been a great franchise since it started a couple of years ago. We saw some of the playoff attendances were embarrassing for playoff games in Brooklyn. So, but the Brooklyn Nets were really hot. They had a lot of momentum coming into the playoffs. They've been able to take a couple out of Atlanta, but I think that Atlanta will come away with this series in the end.
I'm a big fan of the Hawks. I really like how they play the team kind of game. I think that Atlanta native Joe Johnson has really been a thorn in their back so far in this series, and I think that he's going to be a big piece of the puzzle if the Nets are going to be able to pull this pretty big upset off.
Yeah, Joe Johnson's a great player come playoff time. We saw what he did to the Raptors last year. There were some question marks there with the Raptors defense as well. He just slaughtered them.
Any final remarks regarding the NBA playoffs?
Not a lot of great first-round series, if we're being completely honest. I think midway through Saturday afternoon, there was only 1 series that wasn't going to be a sweep. Some of the teams have pulled it together late. We saw Portland steal a game last night. But ultimately, I don't think there's going to be too many upsets.
Agreed.
Yeah, so let's bring it into the NHL playoffs here. We got hockey expert Justin Sadler here. Justin, what have you been looking at so far?
I think that the intriguing series is has been the Washington-New York Islanders series. I think that Ovechkin obviously brings energy to the table. I think that obviously with the Capitals taking that to Game 7, after a big Islanders win at the last game at the Coliseum. I think that Washington deserved to win. Took home the series last night, and it'll be an exciting next series matchup against the Rangers.
Yeah, Washington's playing great hockey recently. I had Ovechkin's coming back into the form he was a few years ago as one of the best players in the league, probably the best goal scorer in the league right now. So I really like the Capitals' chances moving forward.
Yeah, we have that back and forth series between the Lightning and the Red Wings. The Lightning are always an exciting team to watch. You know, some of the best young talent in the game. And the Red Wings they're just one of those franchises that you know is going to put a solid team on the ice every single year. Back and forth. I guess it gets decided tomorrow night. Wednesday night, that is. Should be an exciting series to see how that plays out Game 7.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun watching that game last night. Huge win for the Lightning, being able to go up to Detroit, win Game 6, bring it back to Tampa for Game 7. I think when you look at Game 7s, it always comes down to who's got that home ice advantage. And I like the Lightning because of that.
And Tampa Bay coming off the big 5-2 win, as you mentioned last night. I think Detroit's going to have some problems going back to Tampa Bay for an extra game. They wanted to finish the series on home ice. I think Tampa Bay comes to play in Game 7. I think they might get the win.
I think Detroit is obviously a little bummed about blowing 2-0 lead in the last 5 minutes of Game 5 to take a 3-1 series lead. So I think that Detroit might have been thinking a little bit too much about that game. But obviously, if you look a bit forward into the offseason, I think that if the Red Wings do get knocked out here, is Mike Babcock going to be the next coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs for all you Leafs fans out there?
Interesting argument you bring up there. Obviously, the Leafs didn't have much of a season this year. Could not have finished quick enough. That season just needed to get washed, thrown right down the toilet, if you ask me. The Leafs are obviously, where does that franchise go from here is a big question. But sticking with this Detroit-Tampa series, Tampa's been shut out twice in this series, which is shocking that they're taking it to Game 7. It's amazing that they can do that. Hopefully that momentum from that big win last night in Detroit can carry into Tampa tomorrow night, and they can pull it off. Yeah, looking at some of the other series we've got so far.
Great transition.
Looking at some of the other series we've looked at so far, you got that Montreal-Ottawa series. I think there was really no doubt from anybody that Montreal was going to take that one. They're one of the best teams in the East. One of the best teams in the East this year. Ended up pulling up the 4-2 victory. Tree, did you enjoy watching that one?
I think it comes down to goaltending in the playoffs, and obviously Montreal's got a pretty good one in Carey Price, and they were able to knock off the Senators, who kind of made a push, but Andrew the Hamburglar Hammond wasn't able to hold down the fort in Ottawa, and the fort ended up collapsing. So.
And Montreal had some ups and downs in that series. They had fought through and got the series win, and they're my pick in the Eastern Conference still.
Yeah, I picked the Senators in that series. Probably a pretty big mistake. But ultimately, if you watch the way they played in, Games 4, 5, and 6, could be completely wrong with those numbers, but really they made a nice run there. And I still thought until the final whistle, a really phenomenal ending to that Game 6 matchup. I think they were two pretty evenly matched teams.
All right, as we move to the Predators-Blackhawks series here, obviously good news for Leafs fans that the Predators lost in the first round. That means that their pick's a little higher in the order here. Chicago team with so much playoff experience, so much big-name talent. Tree, what do you think of that series?
I thought that the best team won. I thought that Nashville had a really great regular season, but in the end, the great play of up-and-coming Scott Darling of the Chicago Blackhawks was able to shut the door in the series, and ultimately, I think the better team won in this series.
You can never pick against the Blackhawks come playoff time. They've been consistently good in the playoffs for a number of years now. Obviously, led by their main guys, Taves and Kane. Chicago's always tough to beat in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm not even going to pretend to be unbiased here. Chicago, love watching those guys play. My boy Patrick Kane from Buffalo, never pick against Patrick Kane.
That's a interesting observation there. How'd you feel about the Olympics a couple years back? When
Really professional.
sorry about that. All right, so you any final remarks regarding the NHL playoffs so far?
Ready for the second round.
Ready for the second round. I think we all are. I think we're all ready for this NHL season to be done after that poor performance by the Leafs. I know your Blue Jackets didn't have the best of seasons, they've become a good club, haven't they?
Yeah, they've really developed some good young talent, and I think that without the injury bug hitting them pretty hard this season, obviously everyone has to deal with that, but I think that they got hit a bit extra hard this year. So if they can avoid the injuries next year, I think they can take some of that talent that they showed at the end of the year, hard work, that they can make a deep playoff run.
Yeah, very, very interesting. What's the market like in Columbus and for the hockey team there?
It's growing, obviously, with fans love winning, and if you win, you can put people in the seats. But if you don't perform, I think that there's still room to grow in Columbus.
All right, should be an exciting team to watch next year. That brings us into our NFL draft preview.
Another smooth transition there.
Thanks, Aiden. We know we left it behind for the last couple weeks or so, but we're gonna get right back on track here with a big portion of our show dedicated to the upcoming NFL draft this Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. There, Patrick, our 3 mics draft specialist, has prepared the mics a nice draft list. We're gonna talk about that.
And just to be clear, our mock draft is who we would pick if we were the teams, not who we think the teams will pick. Correct?
Yes, we're
I'm
gonna talk about what we think's gonna happen and what we think should happen. So we'll start with the first overall pick, as we should. Like, obviously the talk's Jameis Winston. I would be shocked if the Buccaneers go anywhere but Jameis Winston. We've talked about this many times. Both Aiden and I don't trust Jameis Winston as a first overall pick and a starting quarterback in the NFL. Makes too many bad decisions both on and off the field. Obviously throws a lot of interceptions. I like Marcus Mariota. I think he's the better quarterback, and obviously the Buccaneers need a quarterback. I think Mariota should go first overall.
Yeah, I agree. When you compare Mariota and Winston, Mariota's the better quarterback on the field. He's the better quarterback off the field. Too many mistakes with Jameis Winston. Too many turnovers in the first half this year. He just hasn't shown the ability to make good decisions in the clutch. Well, sort of in the clutch, but not through the entire game. To me, I don't think there's a bigger bust in this draft than Jameis Winston.
Yeah, it's not always the best idea to read into these mock drafts and analysts, prospect watch. But I'm looking at Mike Maycock's mock draft that came out. Mayock's mock draft who came out last night. He has Winston slipped all the way to 6th. He said he has major trust issues with Jameis Winston, and I could not agree more with that. I know you guys agree with that as well. He has Leonard Williams as the number 1 as the first overall prospect right now. I think that he's the best choice, not for the Buccaneers necessarily. We had this discussion last week when we were talking about the Oilers drafting to needs versus drafting the best player available. I don't think he's the best. I don't think he's the best to their needs, but he's definitely the best player available.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's the most sure thing in this draft class, especially we look at the guys who expect to go near the top. We got a couple quarterbacks, a couple receivers, and a lot of defensive linemen, defensive ends. So I think of those guys, I think Leonard Williams is a sure thing. He won't go first overall. The Buccaneers need a quarterback, but he's a good pick for whoever's drafting 2 to 5. That's somewhere he can go.
I think that Winston obviously doesn't meet too many of the IB Learner profile qualities, and that he would definitely not be a good pick for the Buccaneers. But I think they end up going with him just because of pure talent and a lot of hype.
Yeah. Do you guys, if you had to make a top 5, who are your top 5 prospects into this draft?
Yeah, my top in terms of prospects, I think the number 1 prospect is Leonard Williams. I think there's a lot of agreement on that among experts as well. To me, you look underneath that, I'll go with Dante Fowler out of Florida as number 2. Mike Mayock said he's the number 2 prospect as well. He's a really good lineman, defensive end. He rushes the quarterback just as well as anyone. And we've seen a lot of more question mark raised with some of those other rush ends in this draft, like Randy Gregory, Vic Beasley, Shane Ray. Shane Ray
could not pick a worse time to get in trouble with.
So Dante Fowler
drug and alcohol policy.
Dante Fowler is the next sure thing to me. And then I think Amari Cooper, he's he to me is the total package at wide receiver compared to Kevin White. Kevin White obviously is an athletic specimen of greatness, but
Yeah, that's an interesting argument there. Maybe we can get into that a little more. This whole Amari Cooper, Kevin White issue. Cooper's obviously the more polished receiver. Some might say Kevin White has more potential just with his speed and athleticism. What do you think, Drake?
I think that Amari Cooper obviously has some experience at Alabama, being a star in the league and just kind of really been in the spotlight for a long time. Obviously played with some great quarterbacks at Alabama, played for a great coach. Obviously West Virginia isn't as polished as Alabama is, but West Virginia's got a good program, and I think it's going to be an exciting draft to see who goes first.
yeah, and Amari Cooper really shined under Lane Kiffin in his corner. Lane Kiffin really he jump-started the Alabama offense, and he loved getting the ball to Amari Cooper, and it always worked out well for them.
Exactly. You have Amari Cooper playing under one of the best offensive coordinators in the game, Lane Kiffin. Obviously, Three Mike's huge Lane Kiffin fan. Exactly. So when you talk about the systems that they played in, Kevin White, West Virginia, obviously, as Tree said, not as polished as that Alabama tightly run offense. Nick Saban, Lane Kiffin. You can't go wrong with those guys. I think Kevin White's a better receiver. Just played not as good of a system.
All right, I totally disagree, but all right.
Totally disagree. All right, would you?
I just think Amari Cooper's so much more polished.
He's better ball skills. I think he's better route runner. He can go up and get the ball against any DBs in the NFL, I think.
Yeah, Patrick said it all.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these guys pan out. Any major? Have you seen anybody fall off the draft list here? Anybody move up?
Well, we've seen a couple of those rush ends of Vic Beasley and Randy Gregory, and now maybe Shane Ray. Vic Beasley had some questions about his strength. He's not a very big guy for a defensive end as he played at Clemson. There's a question. I question him going anywhere in the top 15 in the NFL draft. So I think a few of those rush ends have slid.
Yeah, I think in this day of age, you're going to see so much more evaluation on these players, not just on the field, but off the field. All the off-the-field issues in the NFL this year, that's going to be increasingly important for some of these young players. Obviously, Jameis Winston's talked about that a little bit already, but some of these other guys getting in trouble just got smart now.
In my opinion, the NFL's really, I don't think they're going to care too much about this marijuana possession that Shane Ray got charged with. I don't think it's going to affect his draft stock, really. It should, to be honest, but NFL teams haven't had a lot of issues with people's character recently, so I don't think they'll have a problem with Shane Ray.
Yeah, what do you think of the NFL's treatment with regarding players who get in trouble with the law or otherwise?
That's such a general question.
Yeah.
Like how do you think they deal with it generally speaking?
I think it's become more of a trend to cut loose of the player a lot quicker. I think you look at the Patriots as an example, definitely a model franchise for the NFL, and I think that with how they handled the Aaron Hernandez situation, obviously he was doing a few more worse things than some of these other NFL players have been doing lately. So I think that how quickly they dealt with the situation is much different than how, for example, the Vikings have been dealing with the Adrian Peterson debacle.
Yeah, that's interesting. Obviously, the Aaron Hernandez thing a little bit more extreme than some of the other guys when you kill 3 people. But obviously, the big issues this year were with the 2 running backs, Ray Rice and Adrian Peterson. Looks like Adrian Peterson's going to be playing next year. Not too sure what's going on with Ray Rice right now. Haven't heard much about him lately.
He's working at the Citgo, I heard.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I just think it's a big priority. I think the NFL's got to address it.
Yeah, I think with the number of kids and fans that they have watching the game, it's important that the NFL takes these charges seriously. I totally believe that these guys are role models to so many people out there, and that they need to act accordingly. And the NFL needs to punish them where they see fit.
That's not really anything you can disagree with there.
Yeah. All right. So We were supposed to have friend of the show, Will Holtforster, join us today.
He said he's gonna join us when he gets a chance.
All right, so I guess we do have Will Holtforster coming to join us today.
So we're just gonna wait for him.
Well, want to continue? What do you want to talk about?
Radio silence.
Radios.
Hey, we can't just wait for him. We just gotta get right into the.
All right, well then let's get right into it. We've got the Manny Pacquiao Floyd Mayweather fight this upcoming Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, that's all the talk in the boxing world right now. Any of you guys looking forward to anything to say about that?
I don't know too much about boxing, but from what I've been reading about this fight, most people think it's either going to be Pacquiao is either going to win in a knockout. It's going to knock out. Hold on, now I completely messed that up. Mayweather is either going to knock out Pacquiao, or Pacquiao is going to win on the decision. A lot of people think Manny doesn't have a chance of knocking out Floyd. Manny probably Floyd's got the more aggressive style of fighting. Manny likes to dance around a little bit. What do you think, Patrick?
Yeah, I'm not getting too much into technical details, but these are the top 2 pound-for-pound fighters in the world. And honestly, this has been the most anticipated boxing match maybe of all time, and definitely in recent memory. It's going to be a good matchup. See both small guys of 147 pounds. It's going to be a fun match to see. A lot of money on the line. A lot of money to the losers even. Floyd Mayweather's mouth guards cost $25,000.
Yeah, you look at the tail of the tape here. Obviously, these guys are so similar in terms of everything. We've got a southpaw in Manny Pacquiao. They weigh in at the same. Did you hear the weigh-in cost $10 to attend? First time ever that there's been they've charged people to come watch the weigh-in, which is
Who pays $10 to watch somebody get weighed?
it's nuts. That's just like a testament to how big this fight truly is. These guys, the two best fighters in the world right now. It's gonna be so exciting to watch. I know that they're expecting a huge crowd in Vegas. I know they were trying to get it into Cowboy Stadium, if I'm not mistaken, but
It was planned for Cowboy Stadium. Mayweather shut that down. He didn't want to go to Texas.
The heat would affect him probably, so he decided to flip it. But I think that there's only going to be 500 tickets available, so it's obviously going to be a very exclusive event to the public. I think that that's going to be interesting to see, as everyone will most likely be watching their TVs. But as Eden said, it's going to be a big event and it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think probably the majority of people in attendance will be celebrities this time. A lot of money in the building.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they have an exclusive list of people who can buy tickets. I'm not sure that a general public.
Yeah, I believe it says according to Wikipedia, there's 1,000 tickets sold to the public when there's expected to be about 17,000 people at the fight.
Wow, that's incredible. Something that a lot of people are unaware of is Mayweather, although he's undefeated in his professional boxing career, 1996 Olympics, he captured the bronze after losing the only match since he's become somewhat of